Troy Franklin, wide receiver, Oregon, 6'1" and 7/8 inches tall. 107. I'm starting off with a bang again.
You're crushing it.
176 pounds, 8 3/4 inch hands, 31 7/8 inch arms, 77 1/4 inch wingspan. He is 21, just turned 21 in February. He ran a 4.41 in the 40, an ugly 1.61 10-yard split. He had a 4.31 20-yard shuttle, a 6.93 cone, 124-inch broad jump, 39-inch vertical. Last year at Oregon in 13 games, he had 81 receptions, 1,383 yards, receiving 14 touchdowns. Some odd numbers up top, right?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff just is hard to nail down. How the heck does a guy run a 4.4, have a 1.6 split, have a 6.93 cone, and a 4.31 20-yard shuttle? Makes sense of this, Garrett.
It is weird. Rich was supposed to go first, but him and I were talking about this ahead of time. This was the hardest part I had with Troy Franklin's tape. I watched him play, and I was interested.
Yep.
But I was like, there's something off.
Past tense, huh?
There's something. Yes. Yes. There's something off when I watch him. I don't think he's a bad route runner, but I don't think he's a great route runner. I think he's fast, but he doesn't look it, and I can't figure out why, because there's times where he does eventually beat guys down the field, but it doesn't happen right away. Like, I was just kind of confused. So I went and I looked, and I was like, I could have swore he had a good combine, but maybe I'm misremembering. And I see the 40-yard, and I was like, oh, he ran a good 40. And I was like, I wonder what the 10-yard split was. Worst in the class.
The worst.
Worst in the class. And that made so much, like, that was the light bulb moment for me when I saw that, because he's not somebody that gets in and out of his breaks quickly. He's not somebody that gets off the line quickly. There's not that quick twitch thing that he has that a lot of other receivers have. It's this long speed, which is not a bad thing. Long speed can still get you, but you want to have that short area, that quick twitch. And I just don't know that he has that. And it shows up on tape, because I typically don't go look at the guy's numbers before I watch tape, because I want to make that determination myself. What does it look like on field? Does it match up? Does it not match up? And something wasn't making sense to me, which caused me to go look at the numbers. I normally don't do that.
Yeah.
So when I saw that changed quite a bit for me. I don't think he's a great contested catch guy. I don't think he's...
I have the same note.
He doesn't play very physical, and he really can't with that weight. He's a very slender player. And once again, kind of my mini rant that I had at the end of the last episode, he falls right into this category.
I was going to say the same thing. You ended it on on the last show, and we're basically picking it up. Same style of player, right?
Yes, he's a guy that is a long speed player that is going to make some big plays at times, but he doesn't have the short area quickness to be effective in the slot, I don't believe.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have ability to sink his hips and change directions sharply.
Yeah.
Very well either.
So I struggle, because I see him consistently as one of those guys being talked about to the Bills at 28 or to the Chiefs at 32 or one of the first guys off the board in the second round. And my score, while it's not horrific, he's only got a 72.2 for me. Whereas most of the guys that he's being talked about are guys that I have 74s and 75s. So I just think I have him a lot lower, and I guess I just don't see it. So I want to hear what you guys think about Troy Franklin, because I don't see it. I don't think he's a bad player, but I just don't know that he's going to be consistently effective at the next level.
I agree. I think he's limited. I think the route running, some things look good. I think he can run a good go route. He can run a good post route, a slant, anything. I think he stops pretty well too, and turns around and can do that kind of stuff. So there are elements that he can do well in with what he does, right? With, I guess, his physical limitations, we'll call them. I don't even know if they're really I don't know if
right. It's weird.
You don't want to call him physical limitations, because the guy's a great athlete. He can burn, but he is more of a long speed guy than this short area guy that you really want. If you're a wide receiver, you got to be able to do both, right? And he's kind of one-dimensional in the fact that he is mostly a go type of route guy, in my opinion anyway. He's not a guy that's going to win any like contested catches. You mentioned that. I got the same note there. He's not going to go up and jump and get the ball. So he's a feet on the ground, go route, post route, hit him on a slant. And if if there's no one there in front of him, the safety shaded to the other side of the field, if there's a really good wide receiver over there, you might have something. You might have some big plays coming from this guy. And he may make some NFL team very happy. But I think from a fantasy standpoint, he's another one of these guys that you're going to have to really – you're going to have a hard time getting in your lineup on the correct week when it hits. So it's going to be a dice roll. I feel like every time you put Troy Franklin in your lineup, you're going to be hoping, right, that today's the day, right? Mm-hmm. Today's the day. And for me, these are the type of players that I try to stay away from. I do not like those kind of players. I don't like having to hope that a guy is going to do something. I want to be able to rely on him week in, week out.
So I apparently put Troy Franklin way too high on my initial rankings.
But you would be in good company. There's a lot of people that like him.
In my tweet, I just want to make sure I had him as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had him my 10th overall player. Troy Franklin.
I have him at 13, so it's not like we're crazy far apart.
I was going to say, I don't think
but
that's
there's one more player. Like I think, and I told you beforehand when I sent that tweet out, like I had this player multiple times ranked in my tweet, and I deleted one. There's a player we're going to talk about in a little bit.
You think we'll jump him?
I would have higher than him, I think, now. And I think I'd flip Troy Franklin with him. I will say, even though he weighed at 176 at the Combine, I read into it. Going into the Combine, he had the flu leading all the way up to it. At his pro day, he actually came in at 184 on his pro day. And I guess
that's pretty good.
I guess he was sick the whole week of the Combine. So I actually like Troy Franklin a little bit more. But like the more you guys the things that you talked about kind of stick out, some of that tape to me, it does kind of want to make me rehash it. But I'll say that I thought he came away as a much better route runner than I thought. Because again, I thought he was kind of everything you said, like a speed guy, stretch the field. That's what he was. Take the top off for Oregon. I came away a little bit more impressed with he's a much better route runner than I thought he'd come out there. I thought he was pretty good with the ball in his hands as well, and going out there with his field vision and going out there and playing some good yak. I thought that was pretty good. I came impressed with that.
But he's not going to make anyone miss, right? He's going to win with speed after the catch. That's how he's going to gain separation.
Yeah, I think he's got some suddenness to his game there as well. So I think he like you said, he could just stop at a time. Like he could win there. Maybe not.
And that's
in certain ways.
I think the only thing he can't do is like a sharp in-cutting or sharp out-cutting routes. He's never going to be able to do that. Like his body doesn't, he's too upright, first of all.
He's got small hands. It shows on tape.
No, I'm just talking about his movement. I don't care about his hands.
That's what I'm talking about.
Smells like cabbage. I just think from a movement standpoint, from like the routes that he'll be able to win at in the NFL, I think those are going to be the hardest ones for him to master. Any sort of in-cut, out-cut, something that's but he can stop on a dime and flip his hips around and face a quarterback. I think he's fine at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he decelerates better than he accelerates.
Yeah.
So I thought, I was some of my concern. I wasn't as concerned about some of the things you guys were talking about, but it all makes sense. I thought his hands weren't that great at times. Like he had more drops than I would love.
He was credited with 9 drops last year.
Yeah, so I looked it up. He had a 10% drop rate.
Yeah, and I don't think he's great in like contested catch scenarios. And obviously, he was used in some pretty low percentage passing situations, right, downfield and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I did see him lose one that he probably should have caught over his shoulder. It would have been a really nice catch, but he just completely, lost track of it over there, and that one is a drop, or maybe that wasn't even a drop. I don't even know if it is hands. So there are some questions I think surrounding his hands, but for the most part, in all the normal catching situations, I didn't see anything that was like, oh, he's flubbing.
Doesn't look like he's fighting the football.
Yeah, if you saw like him run the gauntlet, like he caught everything into the body, like it was bad.
Yeah.
Everything.
Was he the one that was weaving like crazy too?
Yes.
Like 3-4 yards drifting.
It was atrocious.
Yeah,
so he weaved against away from the ball on every one. So he slithered
had a little more time to
and body caught every single one. So
Then he threw
I
up.
probably at tight. I probably
Did he
have too
throw up
high.
right after that?
No.
Like I definitely have the band. You know, we're gonna talk about him soon. I'll say his name, Jermaine Burton. I don't even care on there. And
I don't
like,
even care.
I even think like
Put
now
it
it's
in
like,
the
oh
universe.
man, like depending where they get drafted, like I might even like Malachi Corley more if he gets drafted in the right spot. So same thing, like Malik Washington. I want to see where Troy Franklin goes and how he's going to be used. You know, like same thing, like
he's
him
in
with
that-
him with the Chargers and Justin Herbert. That'd be fantastic.
He's in this group of guys that are 9 through 13 for me.
Yeah.
That I have to figure out
Yeah.
exactly where.
The problem with the Chargers would be that seems like who Josh Palmer is. Like just go straight and catch it. So like they already
But Palmer's gone after this year.
true. I don't know.
I have a hard time seeing
Oregon.
how his game is going to allow him to win at the next level to the point that we are ever going to care about him. He's actually, I think I might be the lowest actually out of all of us. I have him as 18th he's 18th just raw pure nerd score, but like he's in like a group of 7 receivers that are all within like a point and a half of each other that I would call a tier. So I think he really struggles when DBs get their hands on him. Like he gets thrown off his routes pretty easily. I just see him more as a deep threat than anything, and I think those guys are a little easier to find these days than not.
He was pushed around by the defensive back pretty easily. Yeah, I have him too high in my tweet. Now I feel bad for putting it out in the universe.
No, I mean we all make adjustments and stuff, and look, even though we more or less feel very similar, it's very common. Like almost every list I see, he's in the top 5 or like right there after where he's at like 6 or 7. Like almost everyone has him really high, and this is just like maybe this is a Quentin Johnston for us, where we're like everyone else is saying this, but we don't see it.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes.
Except for me.
You're changing your heart.
Yeah, because you guys are all telling me how bad he is. I'm like, oh, I know I have to go watch more. Like now I got to go watch more, but I trust like our process well enough. I'm like, oh, yeah, you guys are probably right.
Yeah, he's a weird one for me because it just feels like he's been propped up by the media this entire time, and it just feels like no one has the courage to say like, wait, maybe he's
What about these
not
things?
as good as we think.
Yeah.
And I think that happens when you actually sit down and take the time to watch tape. Sometimes things are revealed that if you just watch highlights, if you're just watching clips, if you're just that you won't see. And that was another thing with Troy Franklin. I actually did go watch his highlights after I was done with his tape evaluation because I was like, all right, I want to see the best of the best for Troy Franklin.
That's what I do sometimes if I don't know if I've nailed this guy, if I'm missing something.
The whole highlight tape
Mhm.
was either him outrunning someone
A
or
busted coverage.
or a busted coverage. Like that was almost the entire highlight tape. And I was like, I don't love that. I don't love that.
It's worse for me. I was just going to say, well, God, man, you're making it sound really bad. I don't think it was that bad. Like it can't be that. I can't be that far off.
So I don't know. Like I said, he doesn't have an atrocious score for me. Still above that 72 threshold. I just think.
I think I have him at a 73 something.
Okay.
73-3.
I just think everybody talking about him as wide receiver 4, 5, 6, whereas I'm at 11, 12, 13, 14.
Okay, I am a 10. So again, I'm not like crazy far.
Yeah.
No, you're not at all.
All right, good. So then he's my wide receiver 10.
I think I am at, I think I said 12 or something like that.
I
But
think 13.
He's really 11 for sure because I'd 100%
You're about to bump someone.
already. I'd
Yeah,
have
see,
ahead of
you're
him.
not far off.
I just put him there. So